What's going on, everybody? It's Jacob here, and welcome back to the channel. I have a interesting video for you today. So this past week, me and a group of friends on Discord that I've been playing with for the past year or so finally finished the Curse of Strahd module from D&D. This was the first time I'd ever experienced the end of a campaign, and I think it was a lot of the party members' first time too.
First time?
I was left with this super interesting emotion that takes me back to, like, when I finally finished the Harry Potter series when I was 16, or when I finally beat The Witcher 3 and all of the DLCs. It's a very interesting emotion that has, I won't say equal parts, but collaborating parts of positive and negative emotions. And I don't think that there's a word that really wraps up this feeling in one concise word. There are things that you can use to make metaphor or simile to describe the feeling, but it's not really like anything else. I think my first try would be saying it's a strange combination of satisfaction and resolution, but also like sadness or grief at the ending of a thing that you really, really loved. Event like a D&D campaign kind of fades subtly into this strange horror of watching a thing that you were excited for that was happening every week slowly transform into a thing that happened. Like having the opportunity to observe the event of excitement and creativity transform into nostalgia and memory. I think it's especially different with the D&D campaign because it's not just a pre-made, curated story that you're watching happen in front of your eyes like with a movie or a book series or a video game. The story that you guys just experienced is something that you guys created together. It's weaved by the choices of all of your friends during the course of the campaign. I'm sure I've never been a DM for very long. I've done a one-shot or so, but I've talked to DMs, and they say that even if you run the same module, when you run with different people, they make different choices, and it tells a completely different story.
I made this for you.
By the end of the campaign, you're not just saying goodbye to an adventure or saying goodbye to a certain bad guy or a certain triumph. You're not just saying goodbye to this story. You're saying goodbye to all of the memories and choices that your party made that built this experience. I feel like it's a much more intimate version of being sad that your video game's over. On a more analytical note, I've got to say, I think that Curse of Strahd is a wonderful module for brand new players. The environment of Barovia doesn't really lend to a lot of economical success. The entire place is pretty broke. You know, it's a dread realm. A lot of the people are sad. Many of the common items that you'd look for, like health potions or +1 items, things like that, even if you can find them, they're going to be incredibly expensive. You know, these Barovians, they're price gouging because they don't have an option. They're all suffering.
Where's our money?
It ends up creating a scenario where, as a new character, you have to focus on the fundamentals of what your character features are and what your class can do, and it kind of eliminates two variables, I think. It eliminates the emphasis upon a backstory because, I hate to say it, but in Curse of Strahd, your backstory doesn't matter. You guys all get misted into this dread realm, and nobody really cares where you came from. They're just trying to get out. And also, like I just said, everybody's broke, so you don't have to worry about learning about dozens of magic items. I feel like that helps narrow down what it is you can focus on, and I think by the end of Curse of Strahd, if you're a new player, you're a much better player. Also, I think that Curse of Strahd is kind of like a false sandbox. You know, you start out in a little town that will bring you from level 1 to maybe like level 3 or level 5, depending on how fast your DM wants to level you up. But by the time you get out of the first town, you have a variety of like sandboxy ways to approach your goal, but the goal is always the downfall of Strahd von Zarovich. So it doesn't matter how many paths that you take in a very sandboxy way, you're always going to come back to the big bad evil guy, which makes it like a very complicated railroad. It's a good blend of railroady and sandboxy. All in all, playing Curse of Strahd with my online Discord friends was very, very fun. It lasted for about a year and a half, playing weekly, about maybe 2-3 hour sessions, and I loved every minute of it. We had a few players come and go, but by the time we got into the final act of the story, we had a solidified like 7 or 8 players, and the ending was wonderful. Our DM did a very, very good job at making us hate Strahd von Zarovich with every bone in our body, and we took great satisfaction in beating him down into the dust and putting his soul to rest. That is the choice that we made as a party.
Get him up, let him get up, let him get up, let him get up.
I also want to say a huge thank you to all the people that I played with. You guys were wonderful, and I cannot wait for us to start up the next campaign. I don't believe it's a super mainstream module, but I believe it's called Steve Jackson's Sorcery. I'm going to be playing a bard this time. Last time I played a very interesting mix of fighter gunslinger from the Critical Rulebook with 2 levels of artificer to give me that repeating shot, because you don't want to have to worry about ammo in Broke Boy Barovia, where you can't really buy anything.
If you're a broke boy, just say so.
But back to the feeling that it was left with, I'm curious if anybody in the comment section below can offer words that wrap up how this feels. I had a friend at work call it just bittersweet, which I feel like that does wrap it up, but I feel like that minimizes the effect. Maybe I'm looking into it a little too hard, but I feel that bittersweet is a very minimal version of the emotion. I went online to try and find some bigger and better words that might help flesh out how this felt. One of the first ones was catharsis, which I think definitely is a valid word to use. Catharsis is defined as the process of releasing or finding relief from unprocessed emotions, often through the form of art. And I am willing to argue that D&D is most definitely an art form. Then there was another one I found called tristesse. I hope that I'm saying that correctly. It is defined as a state of melancholy or longing, like lamenting a lost love. I think that catharsis kind of says what this art form does for you, and tristesse just kind of expounds upon that feeling. It's not like a complete sadness. Have you ever sat and had the thought, man, what wouldn't I do to like erase the memory of having experienced a thing just so I could go back and experience it for the first time? I've thought that with like the Lord of the Rings theatrical cut, or Doctor Who with David Tennant and Matt Smith, or definitely Witcher or Cyberpunk 2077. There's not a word for like watching a thing transition into that feeling. And I think that that's what I'm looking for. It doesn't exist. If it does exist, I don't know it. That's definitely what I'm talking about, is that moment that your first time is over and you're like, damn, I'm never going to get that back. I think the last one that fits is just emptiness, which is a bit darker and a little sadder. But I can remember when I finished the final DLC, I think it was Blood and Wine from Witcher 3, and I sat there at the title screen and just kind of stared at it and like pondered over the dozens of hours that I poured into such a wonderful story, and how all of the storylines resolved, and especially with the third one, because they give you a bit of a look into possible final acts for Geralt's life, and you get to think, like, the choices that I made, is that how I want Geralt to spend the rest of his days? That's a lot of how you're left feeling, and that's something that was very interesting. I never considered it before we reached that part of the campaign, but there is that part where the DM asks you, like, hey, now that you're out of Barovia, how do you think that your character spends the rest of their days, or where do you think that their story goes after this? And that question was a lot harder to answer than I thought it would be.
I think I'm quite ready for another adventure.
In any case, I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the end of your first campaign. And I don't think I'm doing an out of 10 rating for Curse of Strahd. I think it's a solid first campaign, though I guess I'm never really going to get an opportunity to say anything different, since that was the first campaign I ever played. If you have other suggestions for good modules for brand new players, or even brand new DMs, I'd love to hear about it in the comment section below. And if you happened to play Curse of Strahd, what are some of your memories? What are things that you remember having a lot of fun with, or having a lot of trouble with? I know I've not always heard great stories about adventures in Barovia. That's all for now. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.